Okay, here we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari In Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Now, just to confirm, I have the second paragraph on page 425, text 5, 4 and 5. Can you just confirm that? Confirmed. Huh? Confirmed. Okay, confirmed. All righty. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now I have to ask you to close this somewhat. Is it possible to just leave it? It's a little cold back here. Okay. On this 31st day of July 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 10, entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, texts 4 to 5. And we'll be starting reading from the second paragraph on page 425. But we'll chant the verse again. And I'll just do it once, both them through, and then we'll read the translation and pick up in the purport. Buddhi jnanam sammoha chama satyam damakshamaha sukham dukkam bhavo bhavo bhayam cha bhayameva cha ahimsa samata tushtis tapodanam yasho yashaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva pratagvidaha. Translation: intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. So picking up in the purport, Bhava, the second paragraph, page 425, Bhava, birth, should be understood to refer to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death. That we have discussed in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what their future holds. They have no knowledge of what the next life holds. So they are therefore in constant anxiety. If we want to get free from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. In that way, we will be free from all fear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37, it is stated, Bhayam tvatiya bandhaveshatak syad. Fear is caused by our absorption in the illusory energy. But those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who are therefore engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. Their future is very bright. This fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam, fearlessness, is possible only for one in Krishna consciousness. Om jnana timarandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Okay, so we're in page 425. You got it? Okay. So, Prabhupada talks about birth here, and then fear and fearlessness. And I'd like to just focus on that because it's such an important part of our philosophy. He cites the first line of this verse in the 11th canto, which is a very important verse. The source of fear. Bhayam, as he says, Bhayam dvatiya bandhaveshatak syad isharapetasya viparhyo asmati tanmahayato buddha bhajetam bhaktyakayesham gurudevatama. So fear, as Prabhupada points out here, he's analyzing the first line, Bhayam is fear. Dvatiya abhinaveshatak syat. The word syat means comes into being. And Vitiya refers to this world, which is a world of dualities. Vitiya is a variation of the word dvi, which means two. So this is a world of duality. It is up and down, heat and cold, pleasure and pain, all of these different things. And we're constantly trying to choose those dualities in such a way that will be experiencing pleasure, happiness, and security. But it's not possible. Because this world inevitably is full of dangers, unexpected difficulties, and we're riding along on this body, which is very unsure. It's very insecure. Anything can happen: disease, accident, some enemy, who knows what. And eventually, if nothing else, just time, and eventually it wears out. So for someone who has no idea that they're eternal, who has not practiced any Krishna consciousness or any activities in knowledge of what would be auspicious for the next life, then, especially in this age where it's such a difficult age and there's so much ignorance, you're sure to get, practically sure to get a worse birth in your next life. And that can be in a lower species, or can be in some much more difficult human situation. Here we are, San Diego. I mean, people dream about San Diego like the heavenly planet. And we're sitting here taking it for granted. Isn't it? I mean, there's so many places. Just you go north a little ways and you're in the middle of a huge forest fire, right? You go east and it's a huge, it's 110 degrees in the shade. So, but it's temporary. Eventually we'll also experience that. So the wise person, the person who is a genuine student of Bhagavad Gita, from the second chapter when Krishna begins his instruction, it's all about understanding without a doubt that you're different from the body. You're an eternal soul. And there's one verse in that second chapter that kind of summarizes the instructions there. Najayate mriyate vakadachan nayam budva bhavidavan nabuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This all describes the living entity, the individual soul. And the first words are najayate, no birth and no death. Najayate mriyate, means death. Najayate mriyate vakadachan, at any time. We haven't come into being, we're not coming into being, there's not a whole lot of living entities coming into being and others perishing. No. All the countless trillions and trillions and quadrillions of living entities are, let me say, they exist in the same way that Krishna exists, eternally. They don't have a beginning, they don't have an end. But because we're minute, infinitesimal, and Krishna is infinite, we're infinitesimal, we have the tendency to be overwhelmed by Krishna's external energy and to identify with that in illusion, with this body. And that's the root of all of our problems. Because we're considering ourselves, this body, that means we're considering we're temporary, you see, and we're searching for pleasures in relation to the body or the mind, which is also subtle body. And those pleasures are inevitably limited, and they have a beginning and an end. I'm not going to chant the verse again, I'll just summarize it. Those pleasures, which is paradoxical and scary for one who has no other platform of getting pleasure, are the source of all misery. So now what do I do? All I know how to be happy, at least for a little while, is through these pleasures, but they're going to be the source of all misery? So where's my path out of this, conundrum? We have to learn how to enjoy spiritual pleasure. And it's there for us if we simply follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. So just to follow through this verse, because the whole thing is there, where the fear comes from and how to get free of the fear. So bhayam dvadina abhishek daksyad, and what's the essence of it? Ishad, that's the Lord, the controller, the supreme. Ishad apetasya, turning our back on him in the spiritual world and becoming absorbed in this external energy. Ishad apetasya viparyayo asmriti, forget everything about the spiritual world and our relation to Krishna, and we're just dealing with the relativities of this world. And Viparya, everything is reversed. The main thing that's reversed, that instead of being servants of the Supreme and being in our constitutional position, we try to become masters. We try to control this material energy and arrange it in such a way so we can experience maximum pleasure. But in doing so, we become more and more entangled and ensure perpetual suffering until we turn back to the Lord. So the next half of the verse describes that. It says, Tanmayato, the whole thing is engineered by Krishna's external energy. For those who don't want to serve him anymore, he has an expansion called Maya, Mahamaya, which is the illusory energy, which makes us think that we are these bodies, which makes us think that this is our field of pleasure. You see, that's Maya, that's illusion. So Tanmayato, so Buddha, the key is Buddha, one who's intelligent, who has learned this philosophy and is associated with souls who are living it. Buddha, Abhajetam, worships that same Lord that, who knows, millions of years ago, we turned away from and forgot. But how do we know what Lord is? That's we have to have information from the Shastra and from the realized souls. So Tanmayato, by that Maya force, all this is coming to great, and there's great fear because we don't know what the future holds. There may be periods when we're not fearful, we think we have it under control, but that's illusion. Eventually, something will happen. You know, I like to point out the situation we've had since 1945, August, the anniversary is coming up again. What happened in August of 1945? First atom bomb blew up. The first one that was used in war in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. That changed everything. Suddenly, it became clear that human beings, we have in our hands, we can destroy this whole world. It became more and more obvious. And since then, there have been so many close calls. I like to bring up the Cuban Missile Crisis because I was very much aware of it when it happened. Since some of you are too young. Most of you are too young. I'm too old. But anyway, I was 14. It was 1963 in October, I think it was. And 62. 63 was the assassination. Anyway, it was just like, what's going on here? You know, the Russians had put atom missiles with atom bombs on them in Cuba. We discovered it from surveillance flights, you know. And what were we going to do about it? Well, immediately thousands of soldiers and ships and everything went down to the tip of Florida, you know, ready for an invasion. But Kennedy, thank God, he was sane enough to try to communicate with Khrushchev, who was in charge, and so how can we cool this out? How can we, you know, stop this? Anyway, it didn't happen right away, and so there was a period where we blockaded Cuba. We didn't call it a blockade, because that's an act of war. We called it a quarantine, just a euphemism. And so everybody in the world, especially those who had TVs, you know, on the edge of what's happening next? Is the world coming to an end? It really was like that. Just like when the pandemic hit, you know, oh, this is serious. I could die. If I can get that mask, get a vaccination. Those said, oh no, I don't get a vaccination. Anyway, but this was really immediate. It was in a matter of days, you know. And so and there was just this. Suddenly, there was no way if you were a sentient human being not to be in anxiety. Fear was palpable everywhere, you know. So it went on like that for days, and gradually the Russian ships came. And there was no battle. They just stopped in the middle of the water. All right. And then we heard that there was communication between Kennedy and Khrushchev, and they worked out a deal. Okay, you take out the atom bombs from there, from the missiles, and we'll remove them from Turkey. We had these missiles in Turkey, which is near the Soviet Union, you know. At that time it was called Soviet Union. But we won't make that public. We agreed to do that, but they kept that part secret. They didn't want it to be a quid pro quo. You know, it had to look like we faced down the Russians and they chickened out, you know. But there was a deal, you know. Anyway, we learned about it later. But we learned much later, like I just learned about this a few years ago. Oh, God. They had not only these ships on the surface, but there were submarines that accompanied them, maybe 2 or 3 submarines. And they had, at least one of them, had nuclear-tipped torpedoes. Great, and we had all our big ships there, aircraft carriers near Cuba. So nobody knew that at the time. Right? But what happened was that we with our radar or something, we could tell that they were under there, And so we contacted Moscow and we said, we're going to send down these non-lethal depth charges. Have you ever heard? I don't know if you've seen that. They're things that for destroying submarines. But you can, instead of ones that'll blow up the submarine or poke a hole in it, which is good enough, it's just to scare them, So we told Moscow that. Unfortunately, they didn't have a way of communicating to the submarine underground. So the depth charges were dropped, and they said, "Oh, the war has started." Everything was much more rudimentary. They didn't have cell phones or anything like that. So there were two co-captains on there, and you've probably seen the movies. They had to both turn the key at the same time. One guy couldn't go crazy and started. Well, two guys could go crazy, but luckily, there was the admiral of the whole fleet on that submarine, and he said, "No, don't send those. It doesn't make sense that the war started, So he said, let's surface, and he surfaced, and there was no war going on. We came that close. None of us would be sitting here. I'm telling you, that's how. And there have been others. I'm not going to go through them all. There's a whole site, if you would, of close calls, because it's, launch on warning. If it looks like the Russians are sending the missiles, okay, we're going to launch those missiles because otherwise we'll lose them. The ones that are buried in Kansas, you probably read about them. Intercontinental ballistic. Anyway, there've been so many close calls, and how long can we go? It's like playing Russian roulette. After a while, you got to lose, right? So that's the state of the world. Now, what do we? We don't think about that all the time and worry about it. It's out there. So how do we deal with it? We got to become Krishna conscious, so that if it does happen, then we just don't get burned up and then go to our next body in the material world, some other planet. No, we go back to Godhead. So that's one of the things. To be at any moment, there's a verse. Let me see the verse. This is a wonderful set of verses about the holy name, written by an associate of Bhaktivinoda Thakur named Nilakanta Goswami. We didn't know who wrote it for a long time, but we found out. So each line ends, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, which is from that famous verse, which means the holy name of the Lord Hari is everything. So the verse goes like this. I'll spare you the Sanskrit. Nikshvase nahi vishvaso kadarudho bhavishyati kirtaniya mata balyad harer namaiva kevalam. Remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name incessantly. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Now, how to chant the name incessantly? It's not so easy, because you got so many other things to do. But that's the idea, to chant and concentrate and come to the point where if it's not going on externally, it's going on internally. You're always remembering Krishna by the name, form, qualities, pastimes, instructions, whatever. And then you can really be at peace, because if it comes, and you're out of here. You're not dead. You just leave this old, coat and shirt behind, and you go back to God. In the meanwhile, you do everything you can to help others become Krishna conscious and serve the deity, refine your Krishna consciousness. And that's the program. That's really the only program that's hopeful in this world. But there's only a handful of people who know it. So therefore, Prabhupada came and he spread all these books, and it's good. Anyway, I won't get into it. But Krishna is ultimately in charge, and he can arrange things so that the world doesn't blow up. It's supposed to last another 427,000 years, this Kali Yuga, before the next semi-destruction can start again with Satya Yuga. So anyway, I just thought all out of this word bhaya, how to deal with the fear. So bhayam dutiya, so the solution is tanmayato buddha abhaje tam, to worship that very Lord who we turned away from. How? bhakti aikayation, with one pointed, pure devotional service, under the guidance of the acharya, the spiritual master, Guru Devatatma, who you worship on the level of the Deva, of the Lord. That's the process in a nutshell. All right, let's go on. Nonviolence. Ahimsa, nonviolence, means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, sociologists, philanthropists, etc., do not produce very good results because the politicians and philanthropists have no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. Ahimsa means that people should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. The human body is meant for spiritual realization, so any movement or any commissions which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of the people in general is called nonviolence. So just think about that for a minute. Nonviolence is usually thought of to be like a negative thing. Okay, don't harm anyone, possibly you can, which is part of it, and that's fine. Although it's impossible, there's this whole thing that you have to commit a sin, even unknowingly. You start a fire to cook something, you burn some insect in there. What did he do to you? That's you get that goes into your negative bank account there, and But if you're constantly chanting Hare Krishna, you're serving the Lord, then that sinful reaction is immediately burned up. Because in the course of your service, inevitably things like that. And the living entity that's killed is also blessed. Because in the course of your devotional service it happened, you see? That's the only way. So that's real nonviolence. Nonviolence is not just a positive, a negative thing. It means not hurting anyone. It means possibly helping others. Just like if someone steps off this curb at the wrong time, maybe they're a little drunk or elderly or whatever, and they get hit by a car, and the car drives away, and you see it, and they're writhing in agony in the gutter there. If you just walk by, that's a crime. Did you know that? Criminal negligence. Similarly, we know that everybody is like about to walk off the curb, isn't it? They're all living dangerous lives. They need Krishna consciousness. And so we have a responsibility, a duty to share what we've learned. And we have these beautiful books that we can give. Now this Dhanavari, she's going to the Indian bodegas around. And there's Indians coming and going. And she says, Janmashtami's coming. I said, really? They want to give a donation, So they give a donation, maybe $100. So we just give a little more, you can get this big set of books. Beautiful set of books. Oh, sure, she sells these full sets of Bhagavatams every day. It's a wonderful, example. So ahimsa means not putting anyone into or blocking their spiritual progress, and the best nonviolence is preaching Krishna consciousness. Samatha, equanimity, refers to freedom from attachment and aversion. To be very much attached or to be very much averse, that one is fixed. It's not detached. Detachment is good. To be very much attached or very much averse is not the best. This material world should be accepted without attachment or aversion. That which is favorable for prosecuting Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and that which is unfavorable should be rejected. That is called samatha, or equanimity. A person in Krishna consciousness has nothing to reject and nothing to accept, save in terms of its usefulness in the prosecution of Krishna consciousness. Tushti, satisfaction, means that one should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity. One should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Supreme Lord. That is called satisfaction. Tapas means austerity or penance. Now, probably just the use of words, something. Penance is officially, from the dictionary, something that you're prescribed to do from a priest in order to get rid of some sinful reactions, and it's very close to the word repentant. So Hiranyakashipu, he certainly performed austerities, but he didn't perform any penance. He wasn't repentant, he was just trying to get more power, you know what I mean? So Prabhupada used austerity or penance. Tapas means austerity or penance. So for devotees, we are repentant. We're trying to, perform activities and negate our sinful reactions. But really the basic thing is austerity. There are many rules and regulations in the Vedas which apply here, like rising early in the morning and taking a bath. Sometimes it is very troublesome to rise early in the morning, but whatever voluntary trouble one may suffer in this way is called penance. Similarly, there are prescriptions for fasting on certain days of the month. One may not be inclined to practice such fasting, but because of his determination to make advancement in the science of Krishna consciousness, he should accept such bodily troubles when they are recommended. However, one should not fast unnecessarily or against Vedic injunctions. One should not fast for some political purpose. You know what that refers to. Mahatma Gandhi. That is described in the Bhagavad Gita as fasting in ignorance, and anything done in ignorance or passion does not lead to spiritual advancement. Everything done in the mode of goodness does advance one, however, and fasting done in terms of the Vedic injunctions enriches one in spiritual knowledge. So one note about the austerity in Krishna consciousness is that at first, of course, it's difficult. You got to grit your teeth sometimes, That cold shower, not now. Now it's like a pleasure. Maybe you should take a hot shower. But but in the winter, it gets pretty cold here. It's gotten especially at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning. So it's just this is part of it. I got to do it, Now devotees mostly they take warm showers, soap up and everything, and then just take a cold shower at the end. I've gotten in my head that it has to be a cold shower all the time. So no matter what it is, I never touch the left hand side, You too, huh? See? He's been advancing. So, but anyway, it's not like it becomes easier, the austerities, and actually it becomes a source of pleasure, because it's like if you want to do something for your kid, right? You love your kid. So if you take some real trouble, and you go out and you get some special toy or something and you come back, and then that's a pleasure. Then he gives the kid, likes it, you see? Well, then it was all worth it. The austerity, the expense, whatever it was, because it's done out of love. It's not just, I'm going to get some more power. That's demoniac austerity. That's the demons. But to undertake austerity or take risks for the sake of the Lord, really draws his attention, and he gives you so much mercy and so much nectar. So that's what happens with austerity in the process of devotional service. It becomes easier, and it becomes a source of strength, really, to do that. All right, I want to leave time for our special little concert. I said, I brought my special Bose speaker here. All right, we'll finish the purport. As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of his earnings to some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conducted in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but the best cause. Because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. This charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. According to the Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the Brahmins. This practice is still followed, although not very nicely in terms of the Vedic injunction. But still the injunction is that charity should be given to the Brahmins. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. A Brahmin is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Now, forgive me, all day I'm thinking about the use of words, So Prabhupada has, his vocabulary, this word supposed to, this phrase supposed to, usually implies it's supposed to, but they don't, right? He was supposed to go to school today, but he played hooky, right? But that's not what Prabhupada means here when he said supposed to. The Brahmin is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. That implies most of them don't. But no, that's not what he's talking about. In this case, it means a Brahmin is said to devote, it is said that a Brahmin devotes his whole life to understanding Brahman. Even that is not, basically, huh? No. Basically, it means this: a Brahmin, a genuine Brahmin, devotes his whole life to spiritual knowledge. Did you say that? Yeah, basically. Anyway, let's go on. Brahmajanatiti Brahmana. One who knows Brahman is called a Brahmana. Thus, charity is offered to the Brahmins because they are always engaged in higher spiritual service and have no time to earn their livelihood. In the Vedic literature, charity is also to be awarded to one in the renounced order of life, the sannyasi. The sannyasis beg from door to door, not for money, but for missionary purposes. The system is that they go from door to door to awaken the householders from the slumber of ignorance. Because the householders are engaged in family affairs and have forgotten their actual purpose in life, awakening their Krishna consciousness, it is the business of the sannyasis to go as beggars to the householders and encourage them to be Krishna conscious. As it is said in the Vedas, one should awake and achieve what is due him in this human form of life. This knowledge and method is distributed by the sannyasis. Hence, charity is to be given to the renouncer of life, to the Brahmins, and similar good causes, not to any whimsical cause. Yashas, fame, should be recognized according to Lord Chaitanya, who said that a man is famous when he is known as a great devotee. That is real fame. If one has become a great man in Krishna consciousness and it is known, then he is truly famous. One who does not have such fame is infamous. All right. All these qualities are manifest throughout the universe in human society and in the society of the demigods. There are many forms of humanity on other planets, and these qualities are there. Now, for one who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, Krishna creates all these qualities, but the person develops them himself from within. One who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord develops all the good qualities as arranged by the Supreme Lord. Of whatever we find, good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing can manifest itself in this material world which is not in Krishna. That is knowledge. Although we know that things are differently situated, we should realize that everything flows from Krishna. And just, I never did say, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshurumanitam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the cyclic succession. So this last paragraph kind of foreshadows what we're going to learn in three verses from now, which is the first verse of the main four verses, the central four verses of Bhagavad Gita, beginning with the answer to the Vedanta Sutra question, where did everything come from? And Krishna says, Aham sarvasya bhavavo, everything has come from me. And so when we learn to connect everything to Krishna in our environment, including our own bodies, then that's Krishna consciousness. That's real yoga. Yoga means to connect. And as soon as we do that, we start to experience the benefits of Krishna consciousness. More serenity, real purpose in life, and a kind of an immunity from being disturbed by all the disturbances that are around us. Because we have a ballast or gyroscope in the heart kind of thing that's keeping us steady, this equipoise. And so that's just, the first stages of it. And Krishna is working up to that and to describe those four verses. But this is, basically he's saying here, I'm the source of everything, both good and bad. And Prabhupada is going through, and according to Baladev Vidyabhushan and other commentators, he's explaining each of these. And it's very illuminating. Okay, any little discussion on this verse and purport? Otherwise, we're going to set up our little concert. Hare Krishna.
Well, actually, I got one.
Please.
I was thinking more about what we just discussed about the Brahman.
Okay.
Maybe supposed to would actually apply in Kali Yuga. Right? Hare Krishna.
No, but Prabhupada is talking about the genuine Brahmins, right? Where is that in the last paragraph? What's it, the second to last paragraph?
426 at the bottom paragraph.
At the bottom of the okay. Sannyasis, Brahmins. Okay, this charity is offered to the Brahmins because they are always engaged in the higher spiritual service and have no time to earn. In the Vedic literature, charity is also to be awarded to one who's now sort of like.
There's a sentence about that.
What is the first word in the sentence?
It's italicized, the Brahmana. It's right above where you.
But
Anyway.
a Brahmin is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Basically, Prabhupada means that a genuine Brahmin devotes his whole life. That's what's meant. To try to try to use that word suppose. It's supposed to. It's an idiom in English, which means, right? You were supposed to go to the dentist. What happened? You know, I went. No, you can't answer that. You have to give some answer why you didn't go, because that's implied in the question. Anyway.
Maybe that works.
No, but he's not talking about that. He's talking about genuine Brahmin, genuine sannyasis here. All right, so we'll deal with it. All right, let me set up this little experiment, and we'll resume on text 6 on Monday. All right. Now.
Battery 70%. Connected to iPad 6.
All right. So this is, I have a tambura that I've had since 1979. That was sold to me by a Chutananda Swami, who's like a famous person from the early days. Krishna consciousness. We were living in the 55th Street Temple in Manhattan, and he had this tambura, and I was chanting, I wanted to chant some verses, and I said, I'll buy it from you. And he said, well, it cost me $25. He said, I'll give you twice what you paid for it. It's worth over $1,000 today. It's one of the ones that. So I've used that for years, but then these apps came out, you know, and I stopped strumming it. It's kind of sitting in my home now. Maybe I'll bring it over sometime. But this is an app that gives you tambura and a beat. It's called iTabla. Okay. All right, so this what I'm going to share with you is called the first Kunja Vihara Ashtaka by Rupa Goswami. Ashtaka means 8 verses. That's a common way. They often give 8-verse poems, and then a 9th verse, which tells the benefit of chanting these verses. So this is an Ashtaka by Rupa Goswami, who's one of our main acharyas, if not the main acharya, from the Lord Chaitanya's disciple, first disciple. And he wrote a book called Stavamala, which is, it means, as I mentioned yesterday, I think, a garland of verses. Mala means beautiful verses about Lord Chaitanya, about Krishna. And I was blessed to be a friend of Kushakrata Prabhu, who translated that back in 78. And he would copy them, photocopy, and he would give them to me, and I would say, oh, keep going, you know, Skuta. And gradually did the whole Stavamala. And just before I left there and went to Atlanta to work on with the BI, he had the whole Stavamala copied, and I took that with me. I still have the photocopies at home. So one of my favorites there is this Kunja Vihara, which means Krishna who enjoys pastimes in the gardens of Vrindavan. That's what Kunja Vihara means. All right, here we go. Indranila Mandulavana Pullani Pukusamanchita Karna Krishna Labarak Sorasi Hari Sundaro Jayat Kunja Bihari Jayat Kunja Bihari. His smooth complexion conquers sapphires stunning to the eye. Kadamba blooms with fragrance full on each ear gently lie. His beauty's great and by his chest where Gunja necklace stays. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Hey Radhika Vadana Chanda Chakora Sava Balla Babadu Tichora Charchari Chatura Tanchata Chare Charato Jayati Kunja Bihari Jayati Kunja Bihari Chakora longing for the moon of Radha's radiant face. A thief purloining patience from the cowherd's wives apace. His expert rhythmic dancing, winning all the gopis' praise. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. As Sarvatak Patila Kaulaka Pava, Dwangsanena Ritabasa Bhagarva, Koshta Rakshana Kate Giridhari Lilaya. Jayat Kunj Bihari, Jayat Kunj Bihari. When Indra's sacrifice he stopped, he stole the Deva's pride. By playfully uplifting Giri, Govardhan to hide his friends and cows beneath the hill for 7 nights and days. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Ragamandala Vibhushita Vangshi Vibhramena Madanotha Vashangsi Stuyamana Chaditakshukashari Shrenabir Jayat Kunja Bihari Jayat Kunja Bihari. Heartwarming warbling melodies adorn his flute to it sings. Of Cupid's fest to him unending happiness it brings. The parrot pair his loving pastimes never tire to praise. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Hey Shat Kumbha Duchihadi Dukula Keki Chandaka Virajita Chula Navayova Nala Sanvajanari Ranjano Jayati Kunja Bihari Jayati Kunja Bihari. His glistening silken garments steal the glow by gold possessed. His crown of perfect peacock plumes defeats all other crests. Vrindavan's radiant girls rejoice to see his loving ways. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Stasiki Kuta Sugandhi Patira Swana Kanchi Padishobi Katira Radiko Natabayo Daravari Kunjaro Jayati Kunja Bihari Jayati Kunja Bihari. Most fragrant sandal paste anoints his limbs so slightly blue. A splendid golden belt adorns his waist, he's likened to. He's like an elephant bound by the ropes of Radha's winning ways. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Goldadata Tilako Jalabhala Kedi Chanchalita Champakamala Advikanda Dagahesha Bisari Subhavam Jayat Kunja Bihari Jayat Kunja Bihari. His forehead glows with golden tilak skillfully applied. His playful pastimes swing his champa garland side to side. He meets the gorgeous gopis for their rendezvous in caves. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Hey Vimbramocha Gantana Nritya Chipta Gopalala Nakala Kritya Prema Matta Vishabhana Kumari Nagaro Jayat Kunja Bihari Jayat Kunja Bihari. Their work ignored, their cowherds' wives are nearly paralyzed when dancing glances strike them from the corners of his eyes. ecstatic hero, setting love mad Radha's heart ablaze. All glories to the Lord, who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Hey Ashtakam Madhut Kunja Bihari, Kridiya Patati Akilahari, Sapriyati Vilasat Parabhagam Tasipara. Kamalachana Ragam, the pastime that the Lord enjoys in Braja's sylvan bowers, enhance this octave's beauty and pour forth pure nectar showers. Whoever hears these verses soon acquires saintly traits, and serves his luscious lotus feet with love that ne'er abates, and serves his luscious lotus feet with love that ne'er abates. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I muffed one line there, and it's 6th verse. Well, it's only 6 after, so here's a couple more. Let's see, I think I'll leave. All right, here. Okay. Mother Yamalajana Bandana Mashitalandana Mahigandana Ganalasabadam Pashupala Parandana Mabasata Kandana Matisundana Madavindakadam Radagopavadujana Vidichita Pujana Muduku Jana Namavenudadam Smadanama Vitakshana Makalabalakshana Tanulakshana Matidakshatadam. You broke the 2 Yamalajun trees you like. You broke the 2 Yamalajun trees you love to delight your pure devotees. You crushed the pride of the Kali, a snake with your prancing dance in the Yamuna lake. You're the coward's prince and the life and soul. To serve you with love is their only goal. In the caves you meet the gopis fair and enjoy sweet love. Pastimes there, Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. You're the coward's prince and the life and soul. To serve you with love is their only goal. In the caves you meet the gopis fair and enjoy sweet being pastimes there. You're dashing, clever and most debonair. Your lotus hands give blessings rare. To worship you again and again is the way of the lives of the coward men. It's the way of the wives of the coward men. In the caves you meet the gopis fair and enjoy sweet loving pastimes there. I did the one. Anyway, you get the idea. I gotta rehearse a little more. So, that's just a little drop in the ocean of Rupa Goswami's writings. Just write me another email. I'll send you the whole Stavamala. Why not?
I have a question if there's time.
Question. All right, one question.
How does reading or listening to such beautiful poetry relate to our practice of japa? Are we supposed to, what's the connection between daily japa practice and reciting verses?
Well,
like
the
this?
thing is, japa is the basis because you're associating directly with Krishna through His holy name, and so you're getting purified. Now, in conjunction with that, this is why Prabhupada worked so hard to give us so many books. He wrote the Krishna book. So you have the pastimes there. If you chant the japa, the idea is, you're thinking of Krishna and it's the pastimes, and you remember them. And then you sit down, you read with devotees, and you become more, the idea is you become more attracted. The very word Krishna means the Krishna is the attractive beauty and all the qualities of Krishna. And the na is the bliss that you feel from that. All right, therefore the Supreme Brahman is called Krishna. There's a verse to that effect. So you become attracted to everything about Krishna. And by singing these verses or hearing the sound vibration, the idea is you absorb the mind even more. And gradually, the purity you get, you're experiencing it. You're right there, because it's non-different, because it's spiritual. When you read a novel or something that's made up, it can still be enthralling if it's skillfully done. But ultimately, it's just a big illusion. But in this case, this is reality. This is all of these pastimes are reality, and you're able to experience them. So the idea is to increase the desire and the taste for everything related to Krishna more and more, And when we can't even imagine, not hearing about Krishna, chatting about Krishna, serving Krishna, remembering Krishna, that's perfection. And we're going back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. All glory to the